Hi, I'm Andy, and last year I built a replica of the AER9 laser rifle from Fallout games. It went okay, but there are a few things I wanted to improve on, and some other ideas I wanted to put in, but I just didn't have the time. So I'm doing it again, and this time I'd like you all to come with me. This is going to be a start to finish build and quite in depth, which might not be for everyone, but if it is for you, welcome along. So, after scouring the internet looking at all the pictures available for an AER9 laser rifle, I was actually lucky to come across a post by a user named nexxt, next with two X's, on the Replica prop forum, who had actually gone to the time, which is really nice of them, to put together some full-size plans of the AER9 laser rifle. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have a big enough printer, so I've had to print it out in many pieces. So all I need now is a big desk or a big table worktop to put it all together on and stick it all together with. Well, I don't have one of those, but I do have a kitchen floor and some time and a scalpel. So I will put them together right now. I'm going to take some measurements off of this full-size plans. These full-size plans I've put together, and maybe I'm going to populate this with some measurements on it. But I'm mostly going to take down some measurements of certain parts that I can make into. I was going to note them down so I can try and create a cutting list for when I actually get some materials to start cutting this. I'm going to start with these areas here and just generally make some notes on some sizes so I know where I'm going. So after going through and just putting some measurements on and just giving it generally a look over, I like to do that because it gives me a chance to sort of picture how I'm going to put things together in my head. I think this section, this lower section here, I'll be making in one piece, and obviously the main body be a separate piece, and this bit here and the front, which people are calling online a laser emitter, I'm probably going to do as another separate section. So I've measured up here, it's got 61mm, 58mm. Let me put it in closer and get a better look at how I'm going to do that. So the main body makes up most of this build here, 61mm by 58. Now, judging from the design and from what I've seen in the game, it's got a sort of a radiused edge, top and bottom. So I'll machine that on, and measuring this gap here, looks like it's a 10mm radius all the way around. So I'm going to make it mostly out of MDF. I've drawn up some quick plans here. So I've drawn up some quick plans, like a cutting list of how I'm going to do the main body. I'm going to use 9mm MDF to do it with, and I know the sizes. So what I'm going to do on the wider edge, which will be the top edge here, the 58mm edge, once I've cut the width of it, I'm going to rebate in with a router just 1mm deep, sort of 9mm wide, to accept the side piece as it goes in. This is for a couple of reasons. One's going to be, it gives me a better gluing surface. When the MDF comes out, it has quite a it's like a compressed sheen to the top of it, and sometimes the glue doesn't penetrate that well, and seeing as pretty much glue is going to be the only thing holding it together, what I'm going to do is just take 1 mil out the top to just expose the more foam-like layer, which the glue will really penetrate well. Also, the edges of it will help me line up the side pieces when I'm actually gluing it all together. If you're sticking just as plain butt joints, you'll often get a bit of wander here, so you lose a bit of precision. You end up having to fill this, but obviously you can't just fill one corner. You end up sort of having to fill all the way down to the middle, and you end up with great big patches of filler, which is not such a big deal, but it's just something I don't really want to do. I haven't got a whole lot of time to deal with doing that, so these serve a couple of purposes. One, for giving me a better glue joint, and two, for just helping to line everything up. So I'll be basically cutting 2 strips 47mm wide by I think 490mm long, and the same here, and then running a router up and down them, both sides of 2 of them, and that'll give me the shape of the main body. That'll give me this main tube. It doesn't leave me with a whole lot of space to fit the special effects into our smoke, our lasers, our lights and our sound equipment, plus batteries, plus microcontroller, plus whatever has to go with that. So that's something I'm going to have to work on, because I'm not that great at electronics, but I'm willing to learn, so that's what we'll do. As I say, the last time I did this I ended up with a bit of a scale problem, but I think we better get around it this time. So yeah, I'll machine off these edges, something like a 9 to 10mm round edge, and move on from there. I'm probably going to do the proportion of it, most of it, out of 9mm MDF, because it seems to fit in a few of the sizes. The stock section, I don't know what the thickness of that will be, but we've got a 20mm thickness on the top, but it doesn't sort of give us a size for the inside. So I think we're going to have to wing that. So it's probably going to be, I'm going to make it 9mm, because that's what I've got. I'm going to go and buy, I think I can get this all out of one sheet of plywood, one sheet of MDF. Okay, so I've just come back from our local DIY shop and builder's merchant. I went there to have a look at some materials. I was looking at some MDF in the 9mm that I was going to build this main body out of. And I also had to have a look at some of their solid wood for another project I'm working on. And I came to the conclusion I went to look at, I was going to build the whole thing out of 9mm. And looking at their materials they had there, I think I might actually go with a 6mm instead. That'll give me a little bit more space on the inside, and it's just generally going to make the whole thing a little bit lighter. Still going to be rebating it with a 1mm rebate, and it's still going to be the same external sizes, but it's going to be using a little bit of thinner material, and it's a little bit cheaper, which is better on the wallet, which is all good. So I'm just going to redraw this, and I'll be back with you in a minute. So there we go, I've just drawn that out. I'm going to just erase a few of these lines. I like to draw things out because a lot of the time, you know, it's not possible to actually physically work on a lot of things. So I actually go out there with tools and materials and start cutting and stuff like that. Sometimes I just like to sort of draw them out, and as I'm drawing them out I'm sort of building them in my head. And often as I'm drawing them out, I find, as I'm drawing the lines together and working things out, I sort of come to solutions on how to make things, and I'm really building it in my head as I go. And sometimes it's just nice to just sort of sit down and draw things out. I mean, carrying a few pens and a couple of rulers and a few bits of paper doesn't really weigh anything. You can carry that all over the place, and there's no reason you can't sort of do that, you know, if you're at work and you've got a lunch break and got nothing else to do, you can sort of plan out what you're doing. So, just make myself a little bit more comfortable. Putting the two side by side, you can see here 9mm and the 6mm. You wouldn't think that would be a hell of a lot of difference, but it is, really. We're still going to put in our 1mm by 6mm rebate just to glue it up, like I said before, it gives it structural integrity. And we're still going to round the corners off. I think we're going to go with something like a 5mm radius on this, giving us sort of 10mm diameter. Just try and get these compass down to that sort of size. There we go. That'll be something along, I don't know how well this is going to come out. Something sort of along those lines. Ooh, I'll make a line around one edge there. See if I can actually fit that on while I'm doing it. Yeah, a little bit further in. But I've got a router cutter that'll cut it out for us. That's really not a problem at all. We just, once we've made it, we just push it across. So yeah, that opens up a lot more space on the inside to fit all that stuff in. So I think we'll go with that. I think our next step is to go and buy some materials after looking at them, strap them to the roof of the car, bring them home and start cutting them up.